right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us for the Como Gives Let's Talk Strategy webinar. My name is Natalie. You probably remember me if you attended the first webinar that we had a few weeks ago. Just to kind of do our general housekeeping items, reminder that this is a Zoom webinar style format for today, which means that your audio and your video are turned off. But we do want to hear from you and make this webinar as interactive as possible. So if you want to get familiar with your Zoom control panel, the webinar chat is where we would prefer to have you talk amongst yourselves. There's going to be a few moments in the training today where I ask some questions and want you to be able to share information and strategy with each other. And a reminder to locate the question and answer feature. Zoom has changed their controls a little bit. So on my screen, I see a little like more with the three dots in the middle of it. If you click that, I see a question and answer, which pops up a box for me. So if you have questions, we would prefer for you to submit them through the Q&A feature. That way, the Community Foundation team and myself have a little bit of an easier time tracking down your questions and making sure that you have answers to those questions for today. And then the last note is just a general reminder that this is being recorded today. We will download the slides and have them available on the CoMoGives training page in probably an hour post webinar today. The recording itself will probably be up later this afternoon, if not first thing tomorrow morning, since it just takes a bit of time for that to render in YouTube for me to be able to upload that. But without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to pass it over to Eric and team to kind of get us rolling.
Thanks, Natalie. I appreciate that. I want to welcome everybody. And Natalie mentioned that we've got almost 100 on this call, so excited of that. For those of you that was at our first webinar, welcome back. And for those of you that are attending the first time, you guys are going to be impressed with Natalie. She is a wealth of information, high energy, and she really gets things done. So we're very appreciative of Mighty Cause. Janet and Carrie and all of us at the Community Foundation is excited, and we're moving forward. So Natalie, I'm going to turn it back over to you, and let's roll.
Wonderful. Thank you, Eric. So yeah, the goal of today is to talk about strategy and some of the features on the Mighty Cause platform that will allow you to kind of take your selves to the next level when it comes to how to use the platform. And just a general reminder, so our first thing, our agenda. So we're going to go over some reminders. We'll talk about peer-to-peer fundraising. So what is peer-to-peer fundraising? How does it work on the Mighty Cause platform? What do you need to know as an admin of an organization, and how will your supporters sign themselves up? And then we'll go into matching grants. So how do you as an organization admin create a matching grant to incentivize your donors to give to your campaign during CoMoGives? And then we will have a time at the end to be able to go over any questions that come through. So my goal today is that I will keep an eye on the Q&A, and I know Janet does a really great job of that as well. Anything that kind of seems applicable to everybody in the group, we will try to answer live when it comes through. Anything that might require a bit of a longer answer or needs us to actually ask you some questions to be able to give you the answer, we'll likely leave until the end. So we don't want anyone to think we're ignoring you. We're just trying to, again, use everybody's time wisely and be able to answer things as we can. So our first thing here are our reminders. So just a general reminder that registration is still open for CoMoGives, and registration will close on Wednesday, July 31st. So if you are a new organization that's kind of testing out the waters to see if this feels right to you, just a reminder that we're happy to have you. Love to talk strategy with you, but make sure that you have registered yourself to participate in the giving event, because that's really the first step to success. The next thing that I did want to draw attention to is that your organization pages are currently visible to the public. So while no one is necessarily driving users to the site to look at your pages or interact with things, we all know that sometimes people get excited, right? And they know that they want to give in December, and so they're interested, they're poking around the site and they want to see who's participating. Again, I don't think that's happening in like the thousands, but there are going to be people that are curious and they want to see things sooner. So this is my reminder to you that if you are able to, we want to make sure that you get into the site, that you go into your dashboard, and that you start customizing your organization page for CoMoGives. One other thing that I wanted to kind of point out, because I think this is a new thing that you wouldn't have had on your previous platform, is that we do have a setting on the organization dashboard that allows you to actually hide yourself from the public. So if I, Natalie, go to the CoMoGives search page and I search for the Animal Humane Society, if you decided to hide your page, nothing would come up. Sometimes that's good, right? Because maybe you don't want your page visible right now because you know you don't have time and capacity to be able to build it out and you want to surface it later. That's fine. But we do sometimes have organizations that click around and they click things on accident, and then they're like, why can't anybody find me? And it's because you have hidden yourself. So I just kind of wanted to draw attention to that feature and make sure that, you as the organization admin, go to the search page, search for your organization, and make sure that you appear if you're hoping to appear. And in a little bit, we're going to go into our demo site again, and I will show you where that setting lives that you would turn on your discoverability or hide it. And then I think my last reminder that I didn't add here was just a plug. So if this is the first webinar that you're attending for CoMoGives, I just wanted to let you know that we did have a really great webinar a couple weeks ago that talked about, how do we register to participate in the giving event? How do I access my organization dashboard? How do I build out my organization page? So that was really like CoMoGives 101, and today is CoMoGives 201. So if you haven't already done so, I encourage you to go to the CoMoGives site, locate the trainings page, and watch that training that we had recorded from a few weeks ago. So the first thing that I kind of wanted to talk about, because we had just mentioned making sure that you go into your profile and that you start to customize your profile, since we have some users that are poking around, is just the general reminder that we do have that helpful to-do list feature on the Mighty Cause platform. So on your organization page, that will prompt you for the items that still need to be built out in order to complete what we consider to be a customized profile page. And I will show you that in just a second, but that lives on your organization dashboard. You'll see a little to-do kind of area in the top left corner. When you click on that, you'll see this to-do list that opens up, and then you can always click on this open to-do list area, which is going to give you kind of a full, more granular look at what we want you to fill out to complete that organization page. So we'll hop over really quickly into our demo site just to show you where I located that. So again, this is our demo site. This is what it would look like when you log in as an organization admin. Here is where we see that to-do area. I click on it. I can see that to-do list that's open here, and then I can open up that detailed to-do list. So again, this is a demo site. You're going to see some things here that you won't see on your CoMoGives profile. Really what you're going to see is the prompt to make sure that you add a logo, you add a banner image, and you add some information about what your organization does. And then this important thing that we want to see here is that you set up your disbursement preferences. So again, we talked about this more in detail in the previous webinar, but whether or not you want to receive your funds via check, which would come once monthly with a $5 kind of service fee, or if you want to receive your funds twice monthly via an electronic method, which would come over for free. So back over here. So let's get back into our slide deck. And so I see some good questions that are coming through. I will probably save these towards the end because they just seem a little bit more specific, but just know that I see them and your answers will be coming. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about today was building out your organization thank you page. So again, our first webinar talked a lot about, again, how to access our page, how to build out our page. Now we're moving towards what do I need to do to get ready for donors coming to the site, and how do I motivate them and incentivize them? Starting off today, we're going to skip ahead and talk about donor stewardship. So what are some things that are built within the Mighty Cause platform to allow you to have that automatic kind of first step of stewardship with your donor? And this is the thank you page. So the thank you page is something that your donors will see once they submit a successful donation to your organization through CoMoGives. So they've come to your profile page, they've clicked donate, they've decided how much they want to give, they have successfully completed that gift, and then they land on the thank you page. So you can think of this like a confirmation screen that you get with any kind of payment that you make online. You as the organization admin have the ability to customize what you want that thank you screen to look like. So here is a screenshot of what that looks like on the platform. Once you get to the area where your thank you message lives, if you have a blank thank you message, you click on this add custom content button here. And then you have the ability to be able to build out what your thank you message is. So you can put text in place, you could put a video, you could put an image, totally optional if you have that collateral to be able to add. But the really important part is that we have this first step of donor stewardship. So the donor has given to you and you want to make sure that you're thanking them. In addition to the thank you page, there's also an automatic receipt that is sent from the Mighty Cause platform to the donor. And that can include similar messaging, or if you want that to be kind of specific and different in each place, you have the ability to decide what message lives in which place. And then the one thing I wanted to draw attention to on the thank you page is the ability for you as an organization to leverage a button that will show up on the thank you page. By default, this button, I think, says learn more. And when the donor clicks on it, it takes them back to your CoMoGives profile page. If you want to kind of link them to your year-round website, I've seen a lot of organizations do that. You have the option here to click on the toggle for used custom button, where you can actually decide what you want that button text to say and where you want that button to go. So commonly, I see a lot of people have it read learn more, and then they'll have the URL go to their year-round website for organization or for donors to be able to stay linked to your organization. And then finally, once you are done adding the content to the thank you page, you do have the ability to preview that page if you would like to. That lives up here at the top where it says view this page. So I'm going to go ahead quickly and hop over into our demo site again to be able to show you how I located that. Again, we're here on our organization dashboard. If we come over, so we'll collapse that. If we come here to where it says checkout, this is where I would click on thank you page and I see everything that we just showed in those previous screenshots. So scrolling down here, I see my thank you message. I'm able to edit that if I would like. I come down and I see the button, which I can interact with and make some changes to if needed. And then up here at the top is where I would be able to view the page to preview what that looks like. And then similarly, I had mentioned that you can have unique text that's included in the receipt that's generated to your donors. So if you click on the donation receipt option under the checkout area, you have the ability here to add a custom message that's included on the receipt. And then you have a nice kind of receipt preview that lives over here on the right-hand side. And then if you're like me and you want to go a step beyond because you really want to see what it looks like, up here at the top, you see the ability to send yourself a test receipt. So you can see what that would really look like to the donor when they receive it. But that's kind of the first kind of talk through that we wanted to go through. Okay, yeah, we did just see a question come through. Thank you. Is the thank you message different than the receipt, and can you send a test message? So I think we just answered that. So yes, the thank you message and the receipt are two different things. I've seen organizations use the same text in both areas. You just want to make sure that you copy and paste the text so that it's living in both of those spaces. But again, if you for some reason wanted to have different thank you message than your receipt, you would be able to customize that. And then yes, in both of those areas, you can see a preview or you can send yourself a test receipt. So great question. You got ahead of me. I appreciate it. Perfect. So that is kind of the thank you message and receipt in a nutshell. So we just wanted to make sure that that was an area of our last webinar that we didn't hone in on as much. So I wanted to make sure that we kind of recovered that and make sure everyone felt comfortable. And then the next part of our webinar today is to go over peer-to-peer fundraising. So what is peer-to-peer fundraising? How does it work on the Mighty Cause platform? And what do you as an admin need to know to be able to support your peer-to-peer fundraisers? So peer-to-peer fundraising is really the ability for you as an organization to leverage your supporters to spread the word about your your participation in CoMoGives. So your supporters can come to your CoMoGives profile page. They can click on a button that says fundraise, which allows them to create their own individual fundraising page, which they can customize. They can add their own image. They can add their own story that relates to, why does this organization mean so much to me and why am I fundraising on their behalf? And then they have their own unique link, which they can share out with their network, which helps spread the word about your organization and helps actually gain new donors that maybe you wouldn't have reached with your original kind of communication that goes out. And again, we always use the example of my sweet grandma, right? So if I love your organization, I sign up as a fundraiser because I want to support you. And then I share that on my Facebook and on my Instagram. My grandma loves everything that I love. So she'd be the first one on there to donate to your page. And that means that you've already reached an audience that you wouldn't typically be interacting with, and you're getting new donors that you wouldn't usually have access to. So peer-to-peer fundraising really is a wonderful tool. It doesn't take a ton of time and capacity away from you to be able to set up and support, and again, can pay off in dividends if done correctly. So I did want to mention that creating a fundraising page is free for your supporters. So it's not anything that they would have to pay for or anything. It's just a free service, again, that comes with your participation in the giving event. So that is peer-to-peer fundraising in a nutshell. And now I kind of want to walk through how does it work on Mighty Cause so that you are able to know as an admin how you can best support those fundraisers. So the first step to peer-to-peer fundraising on Mighty Cause is actually deciding whether or not you as an organization want your supporters to be able to sign up as fundraisers on your behalf. When you're on your organization page and you're logged into the Mighty Cause platform, you see all of those edit options, right, that I've been showing you on previous kind of walk-ins to our demo site. Here's a screenshot of what that would look like. In the top right corner, you see edit mode on your profile. So you would want to make sure that you toggle edit mode on. And again, that allows all these little kind of edit icons to show up on the organization page. If you come down next to this donate and fundraise button, there's a little kind of edit icon here that when clicked on, it gives you the ability to decide whether or not you want that fundraise button to be visible to users that come to your organization page. So maybe you're brand new to CoMoGives and just participating in the giving event feels like a big thing for you this year because this is new to your team. And you think that supporting peer-to-peer fundraisers and really diving into that feature and allowing it to be successful just isn't something you have capacity to do this year. Then maybe you go to your organization page and you turn off this fundraise button, and that's something that you look into investing in for next year. And when investing, I just mean like, I guess, time-wise, like spending time learning about it and utilizing it. I would say for most cases, though, we want to make sure that that fundraise button is on because, again, at the end of the day, it just allows your organization to be able to reach a wider audience and to maybe possibly get new donors that are coming through. So now that we've talked about how to enable peer-to-peer fundraising, we're going to talk about how to actually set up a peer-to-peer fundraiser page. So from the user perspective, so your supporter, you as the organization admin, right? You're communicating out to your network to tell them that you are participating in CoMoGives. You are encouraging them to sign up as peer-to-peer fundraisers to support you for the giving event. And we want to make sure that you're including the link to your organization profile page in that outreach. So then what happens is your supporter reads through that email. They decide, yep, I want to mobilize and I want to support your organization. They click on the link to your organization page, and when they get to your organization page, they see these buttons and they click on that fundraise button. The first thing that will appear for that supporter is a pop-up that tells them a little bit about peer-to-peer fundraising, and then they would click the Get Started option. From there, they would see a new pop-up that says, okay, it's time to build your fundraiser, and they would click Build Your Fundraiser. So again, there's not a lot of steps for someone to sign up as a supporter, which is fantastic. It's just clicking a button and kind of acknowledging two different things to get themselves started. So once they've gone through that process and they have clicked those buttons to create their fundraiser page, they will land on their actual peer-to-peer fundraiser page. So I know this is a really small screenshot, and I'm going to show you in just a second. We'll hop over to the demo site to see that a little bit bigger for folks to be able to look at what's on this page. But some of the areas that the peer-to-peer fundraiser will have to be able to customize is they can create their own peer-to-peer fundraiser title, which we see here. They can add their own featured image. So this again is a peer-to-peer fundraiser for the Animal Humane Society. So we see a cute little puppy here, but maybe there's an image of the supporter themselves, or they add a picture that's, related to your organization. They have the ability to set a peer-to-peer fundraising goal. They have the ability to set the duration of how long that fundraiser should last. They have the ability to add a summary of what their fundraiser is, as well as a description and some updates. So I'm going to hop over really quickly into our demo site just to show you what that would look like for the peer-to-peer fundraiser. Here we have a demo peer-to-peer fundraiser for someone named Susie. And so I just kind of wanted to show you, it looks very similar to the dashboard that you have access to as an organization admin. When the peer-to-peer fundraiser logs in, they have their own dashboard here. They have on-screen editing capabilities just like you do, which makes their process pretty seamless. Again, you always want to encourage them if they're having a tough time. Likely they just haven't turned on edit mode to be able to make edits to their page. But as we can see here, we can scroll down and I can click on the pencil icon to change my title. I can click on the pencil icon to change my goals. I can add a story. I can see my giving activity. So very similar to what you have access to as an organization admin, then being able to come in and edit this peer-to-peer fundraising page. So once the peer-to-peer fundraiser has finalized their peer-to-peer fundraising page, and you don't see this here because this is demo, but there will be a little kind of banner option here at the top that tells the peer-to-peer fundraiser that they need to make sure to publish their page. So a peer-to-peer fundraising page is not published by default. What does that mean? It just means that it lives internally on Mighty Cause and isn't searchable or findable by anyone until the peer-to-peer fundraiser decides that it's ready to share. So there will be a big prompt here at the top telling them they need to publish their page. Once they click on publish, this URL will be the URL that they share out with folks to drive them to their peer-to-peer fundraising page. So to talk a little bit more about peer-to-peer fundraising, just to make sure that there aren't any lingering questions about how it works on Mighty Cause, when a peer-to-peer fundraiser shares out their page with their network, and in my example, so let's say my grandma donates to my page, obviously those donations aren't coming to me, Natalie. They're going directly to your organization. I am just kind of the pass-through. I am the person that supported it and that allowed that donation to happen. So any donation made to my peer-to-peer fundraiser page truly is going to your organization, is paid out to you. While I might see $25 here on my individual peer-to-peer fundraiser stats, of course, that's going to bump your organization total stats up by $25 as well. So we can kind of consider, CoMoGives at the top of the ladder, your organization page here, and then supporters are below that. So everything really trickles up into each other. I see some good questions that we have here coming in. I think we can answer those. So can peer-to-peer do a selfie short video? So yes, peer-to-peer fundraisers, if they wanted to, they can add a video to their peer-to-peer fundraising page. I think one of the ways they can do that is through this featured media area. You can see here, I have the ability to add an image, or I could upload a video from YouTube or Vimeo if I wanted to. And then likewise, if they scroll down into their story section, you can see here that there's the ability to insert a video or to insert a video or insert an image here. So they have options for where they would want that to live. So that's a great question. I have another question that says, does Mighty Cause have a tutorial or instruction sheet available that we can give to people who want to do a peer-to-peer? We do. That's a great question. And I'll have Janet actually jot that down, because we'll make sure that if I haven't done so already, we will add that to the training page so that that's accessible to you as an admin and you'll be able to share that out. We have some helpful support articles that talk from almost not an admin perspective, but they talk as if it is a peer-to-peer fundraiser. So we'll make sure that we put that up so you have access to that. And then I have a question, does the organization have any approval/check on peer-to-peer fundraisers before they go public? So you don't necessarily have the ability to approve if they go public, but you as the organization admin, and I'm going to show you two different things. One, you have the ability to actually set up a template that when your supporters go through the fundraise button, they can decide if they want to start from scratch or if they want to use your template. So that's one way of you having some assurance that that their page likely looks like what you have already approved. But then I will also show you in just a second where you can go and actually manage your peer-to-peer fundraisers. And if for some reason you see something that shouldn't be public, you would have the ability to actually delete that fundraiser from being visible. So I'll show you that in just 1 second. So yes, we'll hop over here. And I think our next slide is actually how to create a peer-to-peer fundraiser template. So what I just showed you is how a peer-to-peer would come to your page, click the fundraise button, and kind of create their own page for themselves from scratch. One thing that we encourage organization admins to do if you have capacity is to take a little bit of time to create a template. This means that when your peer-to-peer fundraiser goes to that fundraise button and kind of has that next pop-up, they'll actually see a notification telling them that the organization has a fundraiser template on hand and allows them to decide if they want to use that template or if they want to start from scratch. The benefits of having a template for your peer-to-peer fundraisers is one, kind of addressing that question that just came in. It allows you as the organization admin to kind of set some what's the word that I'm looking for? Set some expectations for what you would want that page to look like, some guidelines, knowing that it is just a template. So a fundraiser could come through, use the template, and then make some adjustments if they want to, but it kind of allows you to have a little bit of a say in what that page looks like. And then the other benefit of having a template is the fact that, we're all about removing barriers to entry for people to be able to be successful for CoMoGives. So there are some people that might click that fundraise button if they have to start from scratch. They feel really overwhelmed. They don't know what they're supposed to add in each section. They don't know how to make their page look nice. So they kind of just give up, right? They don't interact with the page anymore. They don't end up using it to fundraise on your behalf. And then next year, they don't sign up as a peer-to-peer fundraiser because they didn't really have a meaningful experience. By creating that fundraiser template, you're allowing your fundraisers to already start from a really good base of having a page that looks nice, and maybe they go in and they edit one or two things, and then they're able to go and share that page out. So again, we're just making the process a little bit easier for those peer-to-peer fundraisers, which at the end of the day, we hope kind of encourages them to share out your page and also to come back and support you for next year. Okay, so yeah, now I was going to talk about how to set up that template. Sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. So on your organization dashboard, as we can see the screenshot here, there is a section for fundraising tools. So we would click into that fundraising tools area, and then we're going to click on fundraiser templates. On our kind of fundraiser template area in the right corner, you're going to see the option to be able to create a template. So we'd want to click on that plus create button. And then next, here's some screenshots of what it looks like for you as an organization admin to create a fundraiser template. Again, pretty easy, not a lot of content for you to be able to build out. You have the ability to add a note, so you're kind of just naming what the template is. You have the ability to put in what your suggested title is for the peer-to-peer fundraiser. You can add a peer-to-peer fundraiser goal, which again, the fundraiser could sign themselves up and decide, hey, like $1,000, that's a lot for me, so I'm going to lower my goal. Or they see $1,000 and they're like, I've done this before, I'm going to shoot for 2,000. So they actually up that goal to $2,000 instead. So again, this template is really kind of a recommendation and kind of a template for your fundraisers to be able to use, and they can make adjustments if needed. You can add a fundraiser image, you can add a short story, and then you can also add kind of the larger description for the fundraiser. Again, what this is helpful for is it allows people who want to fundraise on your behalf, but don't really have the time to invest into building out a page, to basically just click that fundraise button, have a page that looks nice, and then in a matter of maybe 5 minutes, they have a page they can share out with the public. So you're really just making this process a little bit easier and seamless for them. And then after you've created your peer-to-peer fundraiser template, if for some reason you want to make adjustments to it, within the fundraiser template area, you can actually again click on that kind of three button icon and be able to come in and you can edit the template. You could copy it and share it out with people, or you could delete the template if you needed to start from scratch. And then this screenshot here shows what it would look like for a supporter to go to your page, sign up as a peer-to-peer fundraiser, but this time there is a template that's available to them. So when they click the fundraise button, the pop-up instead here tells them, the organization has created a template. It's pre-checked by default, so they can click build your fundraiser, which allows them to use the template. Or they can decide to uncheck that and then they receive a message that tells them they'll be starting their page from scratch. So again, just kind of a super helpful walkthrough for them. And I do see another question that came through that I think is timely here for what we're talking about. So, does the timing of setting up the peer-to-peer fundraiser matter? Can it be scheduled to go live at a later date? So, as far as setting up peer-to-peer fundraising pages, they won't really be useful isn't the right word, but they won't be able to accept donations until CoMoGives accepts donations, right? So we're thinking in the December timeframe. That being said, peer-to-peer fundraising in general and kind of peer-to-peer fundraising best practices, we want to make sure that your fundraisers have enough time to understand what the Mighty Cause platform is, to understand what you're asking for them to do, and that they have enough time to go through, create their peer-to-peer fundraising page, build out the content, and be comfortable and ready to start sharing that as we get closer to December. I just ran a webinar, this same webinar, to a group in Louisville yesterday, and we were kind of talking about, what's the timing? What are some best strategies to be able to really, set our peer-to-peer fundraisers up for success? And I heard from an organization that said that yearly, when they're getting ready for the giving event, they have a list of supporters that they know would make good peer-to-peer fundraisers. So they specifically target their board members and then their recurring volunteers, because they know that those are two sets of individuals that have invested not only just money into the organization, but they've taken it a step further, and they know that those are the people that kind of want to be able to spread the word about their organization. So this particular organization starts maybe 2 months ahead of the giving event by sending an email out to this group of people to let them know, hey, our organization is participating in the giving event again this year. And then with the ask of, would you sign up as peer-to-peer fundraisers? So they begin cultivating that group, that team of fundraisers a few months in advance. And then they actually have a pizza party, which I think is fantastic because who doesn't love pizza? But they have a pizza party for those people to bring them into the office where they walk them through how to create their page. So they all do it together. That way the organization knows that these people are going to sign up. So they have laptops out, they have their phones out, they all go through the process of creating their page, and then they do all of it together. That way it feels like they are part of a fundraising team and not like they are just someone that's working alone to try to do something for your organization. So hopefully that's helpful. The process of peer-to-peer fundraising, while it only takes a second, or not a second, but maybe 5 minutes for them to sign up and be able to build out a page, what we really want from you as an organization is to cultivate this group of people and really support them as your fundraisers. Having them in person, helping them build out their page, providing them with maybe some sample social media posts so that they can just easily pop their link in there and be able to share it out. This group of people can be really pivotal in allowing you to really be successful for CoMoGives. So as much as you invest into them, you're going to see hopefully that return in investment with new donors and new donations coming into your organization. Great question. Thank you for that. Perfect. And then I think my last kind of question to you all, which you're able to kind of chat amongst yourselves if you want in that webinar chat area, is, are you an organization that has used peer-to-peer fundraising in the past? Did you have any strategies that worked really well? Like I just shared about that organization I talked to yesterday who had a group of people that they brought together for the pizza party, and they kind of formed a cohort, and that worked really well for them. So do you have strategies that you want to share with your peers who are admins participating in CoMoGives? And kind of on that note, have you had anything that didn't work really well, and what did you learn from that? We want this webinar to be helpful to all of you. We want to really create a sense of collaboration amongst the organizations for CoMoGives. So anything that you're willing to share with each other as far as best practices is always helpful. So you can use that kind of webinar chat area to be able to chat with people about how that works and how that has worked for you. And thank you, Dinah. I've already seen that we've had one person write in, so I appreciate that. Perfect. So while you all kind of chat about that, we're going to get ready to move on to our next phase of the webinar, which is talking about matching grants. So when we're talking about matching grants, we're talking about grants that you as the organization admin secure in order to motivate your donors to give during CoMoGives. So this is separate from what the community foundation might be putting together as far as, extra money to incentivize you as an organization to fundraise. So, did you raise the most? Did you do XYZ? These matching grants are on an organization level. So we're talking to you as an admin about, going out and talking and finding a match sponsor, utilizing that money to build it into the platform to incentivize other donors to give and possibly be able to double their donation. So again, matching grants are a really great tool to be able to incentivize donors to give because it allows, for example, their $10 to turn into $20. When we're looking at CoMoGives being a month-long campaign, a lot of times I'm working with organizations that are part of a 24-hour giving event. So the timing and the urgency of 24 hours is a bit easier to get donors to be able to give and sustain that momentum over one day. You're looking at a month, right? So how do we keep donors coming back? How do we keep people excited? How do we keep donations coming into our page? And one of those suggestions is using matching grants. So maybe you have a matching grant if you have the time and capacity to be able to secure these sponsors. Maybe you have a matching grant for each week of CoMoGives that runs until it runs out, right? So that's just kind of an idea of how that could be utilized. But, when we're thinking about who to secure money for matching grants from, again, we kind of are tapping into maybe your board members, maybe your recurring donors, your larger capacity donors that you have, reaching out to them and explaining to them what CoMoGives is, how their dollars can help really boost your success for CoMoGives and incentivize other people to be able to donate. So we're going to go through in just a second and actually walk you through how do you create a matching grant on Mighty Cause and what are some of the options that you have to be able to leverage that tool to incentivize your donors to be able to give. So the first step is, again, we're back in our handy organization dashboard. Under the fundraising tools section, we have this matching grants area that we will click on. Within the matching grants manager, we are able to see matching grants that have been created so far. And then we can also create new matching grants. So here in the right-hand corner, you see the plus create option. So you would click on that to be able to start creating a new matching grant. On the next screen, you will see the creation process for a matching grant. So this kind of form that you will walk through and type in information about your matching grant and what it should be set up as. So in our matching grant, we have the ability to add a matching grant sponsor. You can decide whether or not that person's name is public or if they want to be anonymous. So there's a checkbox to be able to do that. You have the option to add an image if you would want to. So let's say that you have a business that is sponsored a match. Maybe here you add the business logo because it gives a little bit more recognition to that business and highlights them on your organization page. And then you have the ability here to add the match value. So again, if you have a $500 match, a $200 match, a $1,000 match, any amount of a match, no matter how big and how small, can really play a pivotal role in your success for CoMoGives, as again, it inspires other donors to be able to give and incentivizes them to give because it could potentially double, triple their donation. You have the ability here to be able to add a title for your matching grant. And then you can set up the start and end time for that matching grant. So we talked just a second ago, if this is the use case where you have a matching grant for every week of CoMoGives, then maybe you have a start date, you have an end date, and then your next one has a different start and end date to be able to set up. So that's up to you as the admin when you want those matches to run. We also have a really handy checkbox here that allows you to queue a matching grant to open after another one closes. So for some of you, you might only have one matching grant for CoMoGives, and that's fantastic. Don't feel like you are being pressured into doing more than you have capacity to be able to do. But for those of you who might secure more than one matching grant, you do have the ability to queue them to start one after the other. So, let's say we have our first matching grant is starting that first week of CoMoGives, and rather than you having to go on your page every day and pay attention to how much is left in that matching grant in order to turn on matching grant number 2, you can use this option here to say, okay, I want this matching grant to start, and then as soon as it's over, I want this next one to be able to get going. So again, our goal is to help automate things so that your time spent during CoMoGives is on cultivating those donors, stewarding those donors, and not so much having to be in the platform doing nitty-gritty things. So this allows you to kind of set all this up in advance. And then down here, we have the ability to, set up what your match type is. So for a standard match, right, we're talking about a donor comes to your organization page, they give $10, you want the match to unlock $10. So that's what we consider a standard one-to-one match. And this is where you'd be able to set up, what percentage of that donor's gift should be matched. So in that situation, 100% because we want $10 to come in, $10 to be unlocked. But you do have the ability, if you want to set up maybe a 2-to-1 match, a 3-to-1 match. So again, you're incentivizing donors by saying you might only have $10 to give, but watch this $10 actually turn into $30 because we have set up a higher ratio of a match. So totally up to you and your organization how you want to leverage that. I do want to note that when you go through the creation process for a matching grant, you will see that there are some things that are pre-checked by default. If you leave all of those things pre-checked, you will essentially be creating a really standard match on the Mighty Cause platform. We don't want this to be an overwhelming process for you. So if this is your first time venturing into the world of creating a matching grant, maybe you leave all of those default checkboxes in place, and that's how you create your match for this year. If you've done matches in the past and you really want to kind of switch things up to incentivize your donors, again, you can feel free to uncheck things, select new options. I just wanted to mention that so that people don't feel overwhelmed about that. And then kind of the next thing when it comes to setting up a match is that towards the bottom of that match setup screen, you're going to have some match conditions that you're able to utilize as the admin. So these match conditions I consider to be some of the ways that you can decide, how long do I want this match to last? How can I help gamify its longevity? So we see here we have an option where you could set this match up to only be activated by a minimum donation. So maybe you know that you have a lot of lower capacity donors. So you have a lot of donors that are giving between the $10 and $25 range. But for this year, you want to kind of incentivize a $30 donation to your organization. Again, you're allowing donors to give whatever they have, but this match is only activated by donors that give a certain dollar or more. So that's a way to kind of have a different strategy for how your match works. You could decide whether or not you want, offline donations to count towards your match. And then you could decide whether or not you want your peer-to-peer fundraisers. So donations that come through your peer-to-peer fundraiser page, should those activate the match on your profile? For most people, I would say you want that to happen because you want every donor that gives to your page to have that kind of gamification of their match being able, or their dollars being able to be amplified. But if you know that you have a really huge group of peer-to-peer fundraisers and you're worried that your $200 match will just be depleted really soon if you let that happen, you can uncheck this box, which means that only donations made directly to your organization page will activate that match. So it still allows donors to give to your peer-to-peer fundraisers, but it doesn't kind of activate that match and make it be depleted sooner. And then the very last one that we have here is the ability to match one donation per donor. So if you know that, you've looked at your donor data from previous years of CoMoGives and you're really fortunate to have donors that come back and give multiple times during the CoMoGives campaign, maybe you check this box so that only when Natalie gives to your organization once, that activates the match, but when Natalie comes back for subsequent donations, it doesn't activate the match, which allows that match to live a bit longer for your other donors. So again, these are all optional. You do not have to utilize any of them if you don't want to, but it's just ways for those of you who might be in like creating a match 301. So you've done it before, you've had a lot of success, and you want to really kind of shake things up to motivate your donors. These are probably some options that you can leverage to be able to do that. And then the last thing, I actually wanted to go back here. So we talked about matches, right? So that's where we're considering $10 comes in, $10 is activated. So it's really kind of a live, this happens thing. We also have the ability to set up what we call on the Mighty Cause platform a cumulative threshold match. So that's a bit of a mouthful for me to say every time. I, in my head, think about them as a challenge, right? So a match is where my donations are coming in, my donations are coming out, but a cumulative threshold match / challenge is more so you're incentivizing your donors by saying, once you collectively meet this metric that I have set up, we will then unlock this amount of money. So it allows everyone to work together to see progress towards that goal. And then once that goal is met, then we're unlocking these funds. So if you go the route, it's right here on the match setup area where we decided, if we wanted it to be a percentage match or if we want it to be a cumulative threshold match, that's where you would set that up. So you could say, I want my $500 to unlock once I receive 50 unique donors to my organization page. So again, a great way to motivate your donors. It's just a little bit of a different strategy. Do you want that kind of live gratification of money being unlocked every time a donor gives? Or are you kind of saying, I want you all to work collectively to come in, and I want this many donors before I unlock this? So, some organizations that I've chatted with across the giving events that I help with, they have, instead of a dollar goal, they actually have a donor goal because they're at a place in their kind of life cycle of the organization that they really need to build out their donor base. And as much as donations are great and the dollars are great, they want to kind of widen the breadth of their donor community. And so they set up a cumulative threshold match for a donor number. So they say, once 50 donors come to my page, I will unlock this match, because they're incentivizing the number of donors over how many dollars they're actually looking for. So totally up to you. And then our next thing I wanted to show you is, what does a matching grant actually look like on the Mighty Cause site and on your profile? So once you, as an organization admin, create a matching grant, and so let's say that you already have secured a grant, right? And so you're setting it up today, but it's not active until December. If you go to your organization page now, you wouldn't see the matching grant because it's not considered to be live just yet. But if it becomes active on December 1st, when somebody travels to your page for CoMoGives, on your donate button, they're going to see this awesome little live match icon. And so that's a way for the donor to be able to see automatically that you have a match that's active on your page, and it incentivizes them to be able to give. Likewise, and again, that's Mighty Cause doing that. That's not anything that you as the admin have to do. You're not expected to go in and turn on a little icon and turn off a little icon. The platform will actually do that automatically if you have a match that's in kind of the start and end window. So it's considered to be active. And then in addition to that little icon living on the donate button, it will show your match in an area on your profile page under a column that says matching grants. So they would see it here on your donate button. And then if they scroll down, they will also see it highlighted on your organization page itself. And then the last area that a donor would be able to see if you have a matching grant available, which I think is really neat because this is new to me on this new platform that I work with, is that on the search page for CoMoGives, donors will actually have the ability to use a filter that allows them to see organizations who have a matching grant that's available for CoMoGives, and that is currently active. So maybe I am new to the area and I know that I want to support an organization for CoMoGives, but I'm not really sure which one because I don't really have a relationship with anybody yet, but I want my dollars to go further for whoever I do donate to. So I come to the search page, I click on the donations matched filter, and then I'm able to see organizations where my dollars could actually go further. So these are just some ways that the Mighty Cause platform is trying to help you as the organization to be able to broadcast the fact that you have a match. Of course, we always would encourage you as the organization admin, once you have secured a match and have it set up on the platform, when you're thinking about communicating with donors leading up to Como Gives and even during that kind of month-long campaign, let your donors know that you have a match that's active on your profile page. Let them know that there's a certain time where the donations could go further. Because again, the more people that you can drive to activate that match, the more success you will have in your totals for Como Gives as well. And so I've seen some questions come through. That's actually kind of the end of our webinar content for today. And so I kind of want to open it up for questions and answers. I see Janet again has just been wonderful answering things in the chat, so I appreciate you. I'm going to look first at the actual Q&A area to see what we have right now. We've got a lot of good questions. Let's just start at the top and see what has come in first. That seems more applicable to everyone. So this might be towards Janet and Eric. So we do have a question that says, are there still rules around things like raffles or people having just one prize / item? There have always been some rules for what can and cannot be done, but this feels like it might be a little more flexible.
So
And
the IRS will absolutely not allow raffles or drawings. That's not our rule. That's the IRS. The IRS could just shut this whole thing down over that. So please, no raffles or drawings. Last year, we put out a thing to all of the organizations, just a general document, and I'm going to do something like that again this year, explaining, what a peer-to-peer is, what it's meant, what purpose it's meant to serve, and some suggestions on how to stay within rules, and not just those IRS rules, but also making sure that people who come to somebody's peer-to-peer page can understand what it is you're trying to do. It's not overly complicated, but hopefully a little bit on the imaginative side and exciting for those people. Beyond that, in this format, I don't know what else to say about rules, but that's number one, is keep the IRS off our backs. No raffles, no drawings. Does that answer the question well enough? Or
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, and I'll say more on that later.
Perfect. Awesome. So kind of skipping around to some of the questions that have come through. And again, they came in at times during the webinar, so it might seem like they're on kind of different topics. But we have a question for, is there a way to put a dollar amount in the receipt, or will that come from the community foundation? So good question. You as the admin, your only responsibility when it comes to the receipt is putting together the language that you want in the receipt. The platform itself, so Mighty Cause, will be responsible for adding in what amount the donor gave, what the fees were, and more information about that. So you're only responsible for putting in your message. The actual kind of financial part of the receipt is what's generated from Mighty Cause, because those funds are technically coming through the Mighty Cause Foundation before they are then dispersed to you as the organization. So we handle kind of the financial part. You're just putting in the language that shows in the top of the receipt. Another great question about where do we find the training page? So let me pull up over here. This is the CoMoGives site for 2024. So CoMoGives.com. Up here in the top menu, we see the option for organizations. And so these are resources that are available for you as the organization admins. And then down here, we see the option for the training library. So this is where we can see the previous webinar that we had on June 27th. So you can view the slides, you can view the recording. And then later today, I will have the slides available for the Let's Talk Strategy webinar, which we're doing right now. And then also the recording will be coming either later this afternoon or first thing tomorrow morning. So that's where you're able to find those specific trainings. And then I will also nod that we have a lot of really great resources available for you as an organization here in the nonprofit toolkit as well. So if we click on the toolkit, we can see, you know, the important dates for CoMoGives. We can see a lot of really helpful support articles that answer some of the basic questions that you might have as an organization. We can link here to the Mighty Cause support library. This is a great place where it houses all of the Mighty Cause support articles. So if you have a specific question that you want to have answered and you're not ready to reach out to Mighty Cause or to the Community Foundation team yet because you like to kind of learn on your own, you can come to our support center, type in your keywords, and you will be prompted with a list of support articles that will help answer that question for you. So I would really recommend that if you haven't spent time yet within the nonprofit toolkit, that you do so, because there's a lot of really great resources in here for you to be able to utilize. And then I know that we're running a bit short on time, which typically happens because I'm a talker. So I did, for anybody that has to leave, I just want to appreciate that you joined us today. Always really great to be able to interact with organizations, to learn more about what you're doing for CoMoGives. And again, just a reminder that we will have those slides and the recording on the site later today. I did want to go over just quickly the next steps before we dive into more questions for those of you who have to sign off. Just a reminder, finish your to-do list items. So that's prompting you again to fill out your organization page and make sure that it looks nice for those users that are starting to kind of poke around the site, so that they're seeing a version of you that you want them to see. Secure a matching grant if you have the ability to do so. And then, our suggestion is maybe inviting 5 peer-to-peer fundraisers to sign up to support your organization. When we talk about peer-to-peer fundraising, we talk about it as more of a quality over quantity. I've been working in this role for about 6 years now, and I have worked with a ton of organizations across the country. And I've seen some organizations that encourage all of their supporters to sign up as peer-to-peer fundraisers. So we're talking, like, I've seen upwards of 150 peer-to-peer fundraisers signed up for an organization before. And when we look at the stats at the end of the day, 15 of those fundraisers raised money, right? And so that huge chunk of fundraisers didn't have a very good experience. They weren't supported. They didn't have the resources they needed, and they're likely not going to be invested to come back another year because they didn't see any really good output from what they were able to do for you. So we say, find your community, steward that community, support that community, that little core cohort that you have. And, maybe 5 peer-to-peer fundraisers is where you start for this year. And if you're able to manage that and it feels good, then we bump up those numbers. Or for those of you that I've seen have chatted about, you've used peer-to-peer fundraising in the past and it's been really successful, then you probably know what your number of peer-to-peer fundraisers is to manage. So ignore that 5 and, do as many as you would like. But for those of you who are starting from scratch, maybe 5 to 10 peer-to-peer fundraisers, so it feels manageable for you to be able to do. So we really have now hit the end of the slides that I have. So we have this question and answer area. And I just wanted to remind everybody that if you need any help after this session, we really encourage you to reach out to the Mighty Cause support team, which you can do by emailing us directly at support@mightycause.com. And then just a general reminder. So we're going to go back here into the organization dashboard, but every page that you're on when you're logged in as a Mighty Cause admin, you see this little question mark that follows you around. If I click on that and I expand the screen, I have this little help center where I can browse help topics. So I could type in peer to peer and I have some, answers that are related to my question. This is also a smart kind of help center. So it will prompt you with resources that are applicable to the page that you're currently on. So I'm in the donation receipt area. So I see answers about how do I add a donation receipt message? How do I edit my nonprofit's checkout flow? So our site is already trying to help you answer your question before you've asked it. And then if needed, you can also click this little contact icon here in the support center, which pulls up, and I don't always know if it shows you kind of pop-ups that come on my screen, but if you can't see this, it's a pop-up screen for a contact support form that allows you to put in your name, your email address, your phone number, which is optional, and then you can put in why you're contacting us and ask your question, and that puts you in contact with our support team as well. So just kind of reiterating that our team is here. We're happy to help with any questions that you have. Just make sure that you reach out to us. But yeah, so I appreciate everyone for coming. If you have to sign off, good luck with CoMoGives. I do have some additional time to stay on. I know we have some other more specific questions that need to be answered. And I really want to quickly just do a shout out and a thank you. We've had some interpreters that have joined our webinar today that are doing amazing work. And I know they have a time limit, so they have to hop off right at 12. So we will unfortunately not have access to them any longer. But the questions that do come in, Janet and the Community Foundation have been doing a great job of following up with people individually too, if their questions are answered, and or putting them in kind of a summary that gets sent out to the group if they're questions that are applicable to everyone. So I just wanted to mention that those questions will be answered in a few different ways for folks that need to be able to have access to them.
Natalie,
if you want to say anything before we maybe linger in
just to thank you, and I hope everybody has kept up with you. You are, again, high energy and a lot of information, and you cease to amaze us. So you are really good, and I encourage anybody who has questions to interact with the Mighty Cause support group. Janet is a great resource, but what Janet's going to do and what I'm going to do is refer back to Mighty Cause and their help desk. So thank you, Natalie. Thank you, Shelby, for all that everybody is doing. And so we'll just keep on rolling.
Perfect. Thank you, Eric. So yeah, if anybody wants to hang around, I think we might have a few other questions that we'll be able to answer. So we'll do that. And if not, thank you all. I did see someone that says, I'm not sure I have the right access. So I think maybe Janet, you've been chatting with them, or if you want to, we might be able to figure out what that is specific to, and we can make sure that they.
Yeah, she earlier in the chat, she said that I'm sorry, I'm not finding it at the moment. Something is grayed out. And Lori, if you're still here, I'd want to type back in what it was grayed out for you if I can't find it. So she's just afraid she doesn't have the access that she needs.
You might not, Laura. If you want to let Janet know, and Janet, if you want to jot it down, what organization that you are working with, that will be helpful, because I can make sure that I'll look into your access, because it's possible that maybe you don't have the right access to that.
Yeah, I'll find that one way or another.
Perfect.
So. All right.
Awesome. And I will let everybody know that we do download the question and answer and the webinar chat once everything is done. So, and Janet is fantastic and weeds through all of that to make sure everyone's questions are answered. So if we didn't get to you today, know that you will receive an answer to your question. If not directly to you, it will be added to kind of the nonprofit toolkit or in a summary email that goes out to everyone. So,
and she just replied that had to do with matching grants or P2Ps.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you, Lori. We will definitely dig into that and make sure you get an answer back. But yeah, we are at the top of the hour now, and I know that we have some people that need to sign off on the panelist side. So I just want to, again, thank everyone for your time today. Really appreciate the thoughtful communication happening in the chat and the questions that have come over. I know that there's a good amount of unanswered questions, but just know that we will be getting back to you probably in the next day or so with direct answers to make sure that you have everything that you need to be able to move forward. So again, thanks everyone. Slide deck will be available shortly, and then we'll have the recording added in the next couple hours.
Thanks, everybody.
Wonderful.